The countdown to disappearance. 10 countries facing population extinction. In the modern world, with advancements in healthcare, technology, and education, one would assume that population growth would remain steady or even surge globally. Yet, an alarming trend is emerging in certain corners of the globe. Countries grappling with population decline so severe that their very existence as vibrant, thriving societies is at risk. This article delves into the fascinating, often heartbreaking stories of 10 nations teetering on the brink of demographic collapse, ranked from least to most vulnerable. 10. Greece, the cradle of civilization in crisis. Greece, the birthplace of democracy and Western philosophy, faces a demographic crisis rooted in a combination of economic woes and social changes. The economic turmoil that began in the late 2000s forced many young Greeks to seek opportunities abroad, leaving behind an aging population. With one of the lowest birth rates in Europe, at 1.3 children per woman, the country struggles to replace its aging workforce. Greece's declining population threatens its cultural legacy and economic stability. Shrinking communities in rural areas face abandonment, and its social systems, like pensions and healthcare, are under immense strain. The government has introduced incentives for larger families, such as tax breaks and childcare subsidies. However, reversing this trend requires robust economic reform to retain and attract younger citizens. 9. Portugal, a land of empty villages. Portugal's picturesque landscapes and rich history hide a grim reality. The country's fertility rate is among the lowest in Europe, hovering around 1.4 children per woman. Many rural areas have been depopulated, with some villages inhabited solely by the elderly. The decline threatens the preservation of Portugal's unique cultural heritage. Ghost towns are becoming more common, and the lack of a younger workforce is stifling economic growth. Portugal has welcomed immigrants and introduced policies to encourage family growth. Programs offering incentives for people to move to rural areas are also gaining traction. 8. South Korea, a high-tech nation with low births. South Korea, a global leader in technology and innovation, faces a paradox. One of the world's most advanced nations is experiencing a dramatic drop in births. With a fertility rate of just 0.8 children per woman, the lowest in the world, South Korea's population is on a steep decline. The shrinking population poses a threat to South Korea's economic dynamism and geopolitical influence. An aging population could strain healthcare systems and reduce productivity. The government has spent billions on incentives like cash bonuses for births, free childcare, and subsidized housing. Yet, cultural factors such as long working hours and high living costs deter many from starting families. 7. Japan, the aging giant. Japan's demographic decline is perhaps the most well-known globally. With a fertility rate of 1.34 and a median age of nearly 49 years, Japan's population has been shrinking for over a decade. Entire towns have disappeared, and abandoned homes, or akiya, dot the countryside. Japan's economic growth depends heavily on its workforce, which is rapidly aging. Social services are overburdened, and the country's cultural and historical traditions face challenges as younger generations embrace different lifestyles. Robotics and AI are being integrated to supplement the shrinking workforce. Immigration policies are also loosening, albeit cautiously, to address labor shortages. 6. Italy, a country of historical grandeur facing future peril. Italy's fertility rate stands at just 1.25 children per woman, one of the lowest in Europe. Coupled with high unemployment among the youth and an aging population, Italy's demographic crisis has led to a shrinking workforce and abandoned villages. Why it matters? The decline threatens Italy's status as a cultural and economic powerhouse. From the arts to cuisine, the preservation of Italian traditions is at risk. The government has implemented policies like baby bonuses and subsidized housing for families with children. Some regions offer financial incentives for people to move to and revitalize rural areas. 5. Russia, a vast land with a dwindling population. Despite its massive size, Russia's population has been in decline for decades. High mortality rates, low fertility rates, 1.5 children per woman, and emigration contribute to this trend. Why it matters? A shrinking population could undermine Russia's global influence and economic stability. Entire regions, particularly in Siberia, are experiencing depopulation. The government has introduced programs like the Mother's Capital initiative, which provides financial support to families for having children. Immigration from neighboring countries is also encouraged. 4. Ukraine, a nation battling multiple challenges. Ukraine's population decline has been exacerbated by political instability, economic challenges, and the ongoing conflict with Russia. The fertility rate stands at 1.23 children per woman, and millions have emigrated in search of better opportunities. Population decline could hamper Ukraine's recovery and development efforts. The loss of young, skilled workers further weakens its economy. Government initiatives focus on improving living conditions and providing incentives for families to have more children. Efforts to attract the diaspora back to Ukraine are also underway. 3. Bulgaria, Europe's fastest shrinking nation. Bulgaria's population has decreased by over 20% since the 1990s, making it the fastest shrinking country in Europe. Low birth rates, 1.56 children per woman, and high emigration rates contribute to this crisis. Entire villages have been abandoned, and the country faces a labor shortage. Bulgaria's rich cultural heritage risks fading as its population dwindles. The government offers financial incentives for large families and seeks to attract expatriates back home. Policies to integrate immigrants are also being explored. 2. Latvia, a Baltic nation at risk. Latvia's population has been in freefall due to low birth rates, 1.56 children per woman, and high emigration, particularly among young people. The country has lost nearly a quarter of its population since 1990. The decline threatens Latvia's economy and national identity. Small towns and rural areas are becoming deserted. Latvia has implemented tax breaks and housing support for families. Policies to retain young talent and attract Latvians abroad back home are also in place. 1. Palau, a paradise in peril. This small Pacific island nation tops the list due to its unique challenges. Palau's population decline is driven by emigration and a low birth rate of 1.8 children per woman. Climate change adds another layer of existential threat, with rising sea levels threatening its very existence. Palau's cultural traditions and ecological biodiversity are at risk. As its population shrinks, its ability to sustain its economy and preserve its identity becomes increasingly tenuous. Palau focuses on sustainable development and seeks international support to address climate change. Education and healthcare improvements aim to retain its citizens. Population decline is a multifaceted issue influenced by economic, social, cultural, and environmental factors. Each country on this list faces unique challenges, but they share a common need for innovative solutions to secure their futures. The stories of these nations serve as a stark reminder of the delicate balance required to sustain human societies. In the face of these challenges, the resilience and creativity of these nations may ultimately determine their fate.